Hi there, welcome back to History with Ale. Today we're continuing talking about the clearing process. After we talked about the most important one, which was silane, there are different types of clearing agents. So let's start with toluene is an aromatic hydrocarbon in the same group of silane and benzene. One of its big advantages is that it doesn't overharden tissue like silane does. So tissues can actually stay in it overnight without a problem. A lot of labs even consider it the best hydrocarbon clearing agent. Another plus is that it is more tolerant of water contamination, which makes it especially useful in humid environments or when moisture sneaks into your reagents. Sometimes incomplete clearing, often caused by water contamination from humidity, evaporation, condensation of fixative, or processor issues, leads to poor H&E staining with weak nuclear chromatin patterns. Benzene is a fast-acting clearing agent. Like toluene, it doesn't overharden tissue the way silane does, but it actually hardens muscles, tendons, and uterus more than toluene. Because it is so volatile, it evaporates quickly from paraffin baths, which means the paraffin doesn't have to be changed as often. But in open processors, the reagent level is hard to maintain. The main issue with benzene is toxicity. It is highly toxic, carcinogenic, and especially damaging to blood and bone marrow. Chloroform produces tissue that is less brittle compared to silane, but it penetrates tissue more slowly, so clearing takes longer. It absorbs moisture easily, so it has to be stored in a tightly sealed container. It can dry out connective tissue, but it is actually better than hydrocarbons when you are working with uterus, muscles, and tendons. The tricky part is that it doesn't make the tissue transparent, so you cannot visually judge the clearing endpoint. It is also highly volatile, which makes it tough to maintain fluid levels in open processors. The upside is it is not flammable. The downside, disposal is difficult. You cannot incinerate it, and heating can produce phosgene, which is a toxic gas. On top of that, chloroform is classified as carcinogen. Next is acetone. Acetone is not usually listed as a clearing agent, but it can act like one. It boils off at 58 Celsius and gets replaced by paraffin in heated bath. One advantage here is that paraffin baths actually stay cleaner longer because acetone evaporates instead of contaminating them. It can even be used for both dehydration and clearing, kind of like a universal solvent. The drawback is that it causes more shrinkage than silane, and the safety concerns are the same as when we use it for dehydration: flammable, volatile, and toxic at high levels. Essential oils. These are very expensive, so today they are mostly limited to special applications. They also have strong, often unpleasant odors, so good ventilation is a must. Essential oils don't fully evaporate, which means paraffin cannot completely replace them. That leftover of oil can make microtomy difficult, so most of the time you have to follow up with another clearing agent like silane or toluene before embedding. Some examples are clove, oreganum, sandalwood, and cedarwood oil. Cedarwood oil was the most common in histology. It clears tissue after 95% alcohol, causes very little shrinkage or hardening, and tissues can actually sit in it indefinitely without damage. Limonene reagent. These are silane substitutes made from citrus oils, so they usually have a strong citrus odor. They do not harden tissue as much as silane, but they contaminate paraffin more, which means you have to change your paraffin more often. At first, they were thought to be safe, but concentrated forms can actually cause irritation, allergic reactions, breathing problems, and headaches. They are also not water soluble, so you cannot just pour them down the drain. Aliphatic hydrocarbons. These are the newest substitutes for xylene. Chemically, they are related to propane, butane, petroleum jelly, and paraffin wax. There are two types: lightweight, which are faster at tissue penetration and better for removing fat, and heavier ones, which are slower and less common. The pros: they are low toxicity, non-irritating. They can also be used in most processors and stainers. The cons: they do not handle water very well. Some have compatibility issues with mounting media, and they are less aggressive than xylene, so you often need to tweak your processing or staining protocols. Their performance really depends on the brand, but some studies have found that certain aliphatic actually perform as well as or even better than xylene. To end, always remember, all chemicals mentioned in this video must be handled with great care and respect. Follow your lab safety protocols and comply with OSHA and other regulatory guidelines to ensure a safe working environment. Safety first, always. And for more detailed explanations and examples, be sure to refer to the Frida Carson textbook. And if you're following along, do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you do not miss the next episode. Thank you.